We're living in very uncertain times at the moment. Obviously, coronavirus has taken hold. There's been very conflicting sort of reaction to it. I mean, if you look at the Republic, of course, schools have been closed, colleges have been closed, all the GA is off, bans of gatherings of more than 500 people. You look at what Boris Johnson said yesterday, and schools are remaining open. Declan Bogue, who's joining me now, after retweeting an article from the Ulster Herald where all Northern Ireland Football League and the Fermanagh and Western Management Committee, they decided the fixtures would go ahead. You see the Six Nations Wales game is going ahead, so it's all very, very different. You can see the border from your house, more or less, Declan. Can you just talk to me about the difference? Well, how that's even impacting you, that you're right on the border and there's just high alert on one side and almost kind of preaching calm on the other.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you before we started this even, Shane, there is a scenario whereby Derry City are down to play a fixture, and I could be wrong in the days, but I think they're down to play a fixture tonight, which obviously is cancelled because Derry City come under the auspices of the FAI. And is it Institute or Derview or something, one of those teams then that are actually playing at the Brandywell, and it's going ahead on Saturday, because it's AFA. Um, so that just kind of shows you the lack of coherent thinking here. I think it's a disgrace. I can't believe the lack of leadership shown by people in the North, DP, Sinn Féin, and so on. I just kind of think that it's sticking it to the Southern government, because one of the first things that was said was just the hurt again by Arlene Foster, that they weren't sufficiently briefed by Leo Varadkar and what the measures that were going to happen in the south, as if the sense of entitlement just kind of hops off these people, and that includes everyone in Stormont. The leadership here has been pathetic. Um, I just look at, as you say, I can see the border from my living room. And our young fella used to go to the creche in True, which is just in Monaghan, and now he's going to primary school in Atnacloy. And literally, this creche was like 1 mile across the border. The school is half a mile in the northern side of the border. So he continues to go on to school he's in there today, he'll be in there on Monday. Um, and none of this actually makes any sense. I mean, if you can tell me that the world leaders of France, Spain, all over the world are talking about lockdown, and Boris Johnson has got it right, and the rest of them all have it wrong, then I'm not going to get on board with that kind of thinking whatsoever. This is a guy who headed up a government that Michael Gove telling people to don't listen to experts. People are sick of experts. Johnson wanted the gig. He doesn't want the work. He doesn't want the tough decisions that this involves, and therefore we have to different jurisdictions operating two completely different systems. I mean, what does that mean in real terms? You get two villages and towns like Clones and Monaghan in the south, and Maravili in the north, and Fermanagh. The two of them are 3 mile apart, and Maravili has a soccer team that will be playing in the Fermanagh and Western Soccer Leagues tomorrow, and yet Clones Town, or whatever, the Clone soccer team, they clearly won't be playing. And it's inconceivable. It's stupid. It's utterly dense. It's a little bit. It feels like whatever about the British government's guidelines. It feels like Stormont are almost doing a little bit of one-upmanship, and we have our own power here. It took them so long to make an announcement that it just shows you the lack of leadership within that room, the lack of ability, I think. And even you see other sporting figures talking about that they didn't politicize this. They absolutely have. This is exactly what this is.
Do you get a sense like there's uneasiness is a bare minimum. I mean, even walking around Dublin, going to the shop, that sort of stuff. like I'm walking along in the aisles buying a couple of things yesterday. I'm not exactly stockpiling here now, but going to the shop and people are kind of, you can sense that people are trying to not brush off one another when they're even walking past each other, because everyone's very much wondering, like nobody can see what's going on. Nobody can see coronavirus, so you're all trying to preach utmost caution, but everyone is singing on the same hymn sheet in Dublin and within the south. Is there like is there extreme like an elevated sort of uneasiness for you because of that, specifically because of that high alert versus be
Yeah,
calm?
um, like the local shop here in town, like I was up on it yesterday, and one of the people working it said it was like Christmas Eve. It was exactly like Christmas Eve. The forecourt was absolutely rammed. Now, nothing to the scenes that we're seeing in supermarkets and Lidl's and stuff like that. Nothing like that, but like the entire shelves of bread and all gone. I don't really understand the fascination with toilet roll. This is not sort of a condition that gives people diarrhea.
I'm actually
I think
running out myself though, and I can't buy any more.
did you ever buy in the first place? I mean, you're in the newspaper industry. You could always think about recycling some of your own product. Um, I don't know. No, no sense making light of this either. People are stocking up on the dry goods. I mean, just small things like we've an 8-week-old child here, and he obviously needs his milk. Like so, we're that's one thing we have actually started to stockpile on. And a lot of mothers have been talking to the wife about Calpol and various items like that. That you might just need. Say if somebody in the house contracts this. You're definitely going to need something like Calpol and that. Like so, it's very hard to tell people don't panic. I mean, they can reassure people about supply lines and manufacturers are doing their best and all the rest. But once a little bit of panic creeps into people, it can have a domino effect. Uh, it'd be wrong of me to say that this doesn't affect people. It clearly does.
Um, of course, in the grand scheme of things, sport doesn't matter, but a lot of people are wondering what are the ramifications of this, like the tier two situation, who goes tier one, who goes tier two. Sure, none of us really know when things will get going again. But just in a wider sort of sense, what I was thinking about was the amount of money that's been spent on preparing teams. And, we hear about these huge figures like a million sort of quid or, half a million quid spent on preparing a team in the course of a year. If this ban goes on indefinitely or postponement goes on indefinitely, all that money will have gone down the drain. And what happens then? I mean, are counties going to have to fundraise and do all that training again? Do you just start from a standing position? I mean, what's going to happen? Sure, just like myself, you've no idea.
This is a championship unlike any other since, like, probably, and I don't think it's an exaggeration to say, probably the World Wars. When games were truncated or played at different and odd times of the year, like this is probably we're looking into the next. I mean, there's no point talking about March 29th in this context that everything is on March 29th. We're all going to be out there hugging each other. Again, that's not going to be the case. I mean, we're going to have to sort of adhere. I believe, anyway, that we'll get to about the 26th or 25th of March, and there'll be more announcements that we're going to roll this out for another month, and it's going well, and there'll be hopefully encouraging figures at that point. But if you look at a 14-week cycle, I think they're going to try and reach that or damn near close to it before they would be saying to play on for anyone. So in that context, and you say sport's not important, like, but sport and the GA in particular is a multi-million-pound industry, and nobody will want to lose out on this. I mean, you take it down, you take it from the macro level of okay, there's probably not going to be, or you don't know, you can't predict, but could there be as many games in the inter-county football championship this year as there were last year? You don't know. There might be. Kieran Shannon, the Examiner, was advocating running off just a straight old style uh, one-off game of the championship, straight knockout. Cara O'Kane there, she was saying, why don't just have an open draw, 32 counties, away we go, which is, which would be it would be fun, wouldn't it? It'd be something novel and different. I don't know where we stand on this because there's obviously contracts signed in terms of broadcasting. There's obviously sponsorship signed, and they would want a certain amount of bang for their buck. All these people, the GA might have to take an enormous financial hit. They might have to. That just might have to be it. But you take it down even to the micro level, like the local club here, Ahalu O'Neill's, are doing a huge development. There's been an unbelievable amount of work put into running the draw. Coordinators within the club have coordinated, I think it's 10 or 11 teams of, say, 10 people that are going out all around Tyrone, all around Ulster and further afield to sell tickets for a new stand, a new gym, upgrade facilities and all that. And you just had, like last night, the message came, everyone stop. The whole thing has to stop. Like, those, it would be the worst thing in the world going from one house to another house, on to another house, maybe calling in 20 houses per evening. If there was one carrier among that number selling tickets, handling cash, it would be it would be crazy stuff. So every level of the GA is affected by this. Everything has to stop. But it is the only way. Otherwise, you have a scenario whereby you have the Fermanagh and Western soccer leagues going ahead, and hundreds of people all in close proximity in a venue, like, say, for example, the Lakeland Forum, could have as many as 5 games ongoing on any particular Saturday if the weather's good. I can't see that. But anyway, the point of the matter is the GA have done absolutely the right thing here, in my mind. And we just have to let it play out as to what shape or format the championship will take place. I don't think there's a particular urge or a big push on that. I think that people would just get used to the new dynamic, and in a couple of days' time, CCC, or Corlia, and all the various parties in the GA will get together and say, right, okay, let's plot a way forward, or put together some kind of proposals. Whether those proposals then will have to go to a special Congress or not, whether the special Congress will be able to be heard given the restrictions on like 100 people inside an indoor venue. Oh, Jesus. The more we talk, the more layers and the more bureaucracy we actually get into, isn't it? Isn't it amazing?
Sure is. And one of the things about going with a date like March 29th, there are some inter-county managers out there who will think, do you know what? Things could get going and we need to be ready. And as much as the GPA and GA came out with a strong statement saying there will be no insurance, we don't want any collective training and all that stuff, and that's a very welcome statement. But there are managers who think, inter-county managers, not all, who think that they are the centre of the earth, and when their team gets going, they're not going to be caught unaware. And this training ban that has now been put in place is absolutely going to be ignored by a certain amount of managers, whether they train in pods, whether they train collectively fully. Like we've seen gyms across Dublin are closed. I'm sure they are across the country.
Are they?
Oh yeah. So I'm a member of a gym. They don't see me that often, but I'm a member of a gym down the road. And that's closed for the month. That's FlyFit, Ben Dunn gyms, they're all closed.
Yeah,
so there is that going on. Now, there are many county teams who have their own team gyms, so there's no one going to stop them opening the doors to themselves. But the training collectively should not happen for the same reason going door to door. I mean, you are increasing. Social distancing is the only way to slow this down, according to the experts. What do we know? But according to the experts. But teams are going to completely flout that. And I reckon there are a number of teams that are going to train away anyway.
Yeah, there's a local gym I would use here too, who actually have cut down their numbers of people in their classes, just to allow for social distancing. And they've been putting up on their social media channels about, they do a deep clean once every day. I think it's in the morning. They've provided all the wipe down stuff, all the wipes, all the disinfectant, all your hand wash, everything. I just believe, though, before too long, you're going to get an edict handed down that all gyms should close. But I have heard it's come back to me about certain clubs that are talking about training together anyway over the next wee while. Like,
training matches among each other, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know the details, but they said they were going to train together. But I wouldn't, it's not it's not local teams here, but certainly there's talking about meeting up, even if it just is in pods. which is crazy.
Because I was saying when I did a video on Thursday about the GA doing the blanket ban of or postponement of games and training, that we trained on Wednesday night, and I felt quite uneasy about whether I would go or not. Now, one of the precautions taken at training was that every bottle of water was numbered, and then there was a table that was all kind of done out in a grid format, and there was a number with that to correspond with your bottle. So from that point of view, that was very good. But of course, like, this is transmitted through touch, through breathing, that sort of stuff. So,
I mean, it's absolutely laughable, the measures that were put in place. Oh, no shaking hands before a game of soccer. When they score, they jump all over each other's backs and they kiss each other's faces. Uh, Even in Gaelic football, hurling, like, these are contact sports. Like, you're bumping up against, you're breathing on each other. You're in a hurling ruck where there might be 12 people, and you're all like making contact with about 10 people all at once. Uh, just so inefficient. But if you look at Mikel Arteta going at, testing positive for coronavirus, and that was one that just caught my eye. I'll tell you why, and it's similar to Jurgen Klopp, is, these a lot of the new thinking on coaching, and about forming relationships with your players, and they would advocate for an awful lot of physical touch, arm around the shoulder, and even insistences among soccer teams of players all shaking each other's hands when they see each other in the morning. How long has Arteta been carrying this? How many players did he come into contact with? Am I right in saying more or less the Chelsea squad is now self-isolating?
well, Callum Hudson-Odoi, he's after getting it, and he put out a video. So I would assume they all are. The Real Madrid squad is.
Yeah, I mean, it's gone, isn't it? Like, I mean, the idea of a Premier League competing, it just cannot. If people had any sense, I'm sure that there's people like Jackie Cahill and John Fogarty and all who wouldn't thank anybody for saying. But the whole thing just really should just close down now. And if Fermanagh can't be relegated to tier 2, then Liverpool can't be crowned champions.
Yeah, that's a couple of GA journalists who are into their Liverpool and would be very. Oh, there's my own bit of lighting gone, but who would be very upset to see Liverpool not being awarded the Premier League title this season. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on? I mean, I was just thinking again, just back to the amount of money pumped in by teams. Even Sambo talking before about Cushendall, they had to spend 35 grand waiting. That huge long gap waiting for an All Ireland club semi-final or final. 35 grand just on the massive wait. I just wonder the toll, and like, are a certain amount of inter-county teams going to come under huge pressure now? Either their county boards not getting gate receipts for club games. Like, does this throw any sponsorship deals up in the air? Because let's say there's a lot of businesses that sponsor inter-county teams that aren't an AIG, that aren't a huge company that can absorb massive blows. There are going to be a lot of sponsors out there who are going to hit the wall because, plenty of companies are in precarious positions. They might put a bit of money into a county team, but all of a sudden that'll be the first thing to go. Or if they hit the wall, they can't actually honour their deals.
Yeah, I mean, marketing is the first thing that goes in any. Marketing is the first thing that goes in any business, isn't it? When they're starting to feel the pinch, and yeah, like, this is we're just playing a wait and see game. Like, I mean, say for example, Sky Sports and even Air, that have a couple of games and a couple of weekends to run on their broadcast yet. I wonder how they feel about all this, and that the GA essentially is in. Through no fault of their own, but they are in breach of contract here, and you have X amount of games scheduled for the summer, and the way things are and the way that people feel about things, then that might be reduced with a different format. That even the attendance figures this summer, with the best weather in the world, if an All-Ireland Championship is staged, they're going to fall through the floor. And that might sound alarmist, but people are not stupid either. Like, I mean, there comes a time when you have to be cautious. Like, but for once, someone said to me yesterday, this is actually one example where like, I mean, as much as I complained about the lack of political leadership there earlier, this is one example where people have to take individual responsibility for their own actions. And if that involves maybe not getting along to a championship game, then they're going to take that, and you're going to see people getting better at, maybe taking responsibility for what happens and not wanting to spread this on. We're talking completely in speculation here, but it's the most interesting summer ahead of GA that certainly I know, and for no reason what to do with the sports themselves.
Absolutely, and obviously sport is the last thing that matters, and I'm sure you echo that too. But yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it again in the future. So thanks for joining me on that, Declan, and keep yourself safe.
No problem, Shane.